The Politics program is brought to you, as always, by everybody who supports patreon.com/JURY. It is the first of the month. We've had a little bit of our shake-off, but even more people joining the cause. This is the only place where you can make sure that you get the Politics headline episodes that are on Monday and Friday. I'm not skipping nothing, by the way. I did a very hungover version of of that show on Monday for you all. So thank you guys so much. Of course, all patrons wind up getting extra content, including the full 3-hour Friday Hype Train stream that happens on Friday. But to be honest, this is the big news right now, and that is Action News, the new card game from the folks who brought you The Contender, currently on Kickstarter. Go ahead and check it out. We are just a C hair away from being double funded. In fact, we might be double funded by the time that this episode is over. Go ahead and check it out at actionnewsgame.com. Back it if you please. We've already smashed through two of our backer levels. Our next one is at 1,000 backers, which we are barreling toward. But we already have the viewer discretion advised pack. Those are the curse word cards that we had in the first the contender pack. Man, I mean, what more can I say? You guys have absolutely made this a smashing success so far, and we have so much farther to go. So go ahead and check it out. That is actionnewsgame.com. But enough of talking about how we do the show. Enough of talking about the card games on Kickstarter. What do you say we just do the damn thing?
Politics. Yes.
Politics. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Politics program. My name is Justin Robert Young. I will be your humble host today. Wow. It is hard to get back up to snuff after what was a very eventful 5-day working weekend for me. Oh my God, everything's blowing up right now. There's just so much stuff going on. Hi, this is the Politics show where we talk about all three phases of our favorite topic. We have so much to talk about, despite the fact that there's not a lot of news. Because when everybody is not working, there's not a lot of news to be made or broken. So we can do a few things, a little potpourri roundup of what happened over the weekend. The first and foremost was that Christie was a fat man on a beach. A fat man on a beach. Fat man on a beach. I wasn't in the sun. It was just for fun. Fat man on a beach. Not a lot to talk about there, to be honest with you, because he said he didn't get any sun. He obviously got snapped, in the sun. His PR flack said that he wasn't in the sun because he was wearing a hat. Whatever. He's a fat man on a beach. He's got subterranean approval numbers. He knows it so much so that he shelled hard for Trump, hoping that that the Trump administration would be a life raft for him. Then he got the old Omerta double cross by Jared Kushner. And that's it. So now he is in full effort mode. He's like, the beach next to the governor's mansion. I know that there's a public shutdown, but I'm just going to go ahead and sit on it. I'm going to be a fat man on the beach. Fat man on a beach. When you hear that record screech, it's just because there's a fat man on a beach. So we're not going to deal with that. Here's what we are going to deal with, and it's something that we talked about on the headlines episode, but obviously it's continued to become one of the biggest stories in all of politics, and that is the tweet by Donald Trump and the ensuing fallout of the tweet from Donald Trump that basically showed him in his full Battle of the Billionaires regalia. This is the World Wrestling Entertainment main event wherein he was championed by Bobby Lashley, the wrestler, and Vincent K. McMahon was championed by Umaga, the Samoan bulldozer. There is a famous moment where Vince McMahon is taunting a laying out Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Donald Trump gave him somewhere between a clothesline and a lariat. I'm not quite sure exactly what the distinction is. But instead of having the head of Vince McMahon, there was the head of the CNN logo. This, of course, was taken very responsibly and measured by CNN. Instead of laughing it off as yet another barb in their war of words, CNN decided to make it into World War III and point out that this was an assault on all journalists and yada, yada, yada. There's not a ton here for those video listeners. That is the GIF. It is commonly referred to on Twitter as a shit post. Something that there are posts that give you enlightenment and knowledge, and then there are posts that are just for fun. These are referred to on Reddit as shit posts. This is a shit post, as it was called as such. So here's where we are now. CNN freaks out about it, right? Donald Trump, tweets it, and that's pretty much it. But I've said on this show before, there is one thing that blew my mind when I was in journalism and blows my mind to this day. And that is how poorly journalists respond to people paying attention to them. Like, it brings out, without question, the worst in journalists, which is very, very odd because you would assume that journalists whose job it is to make people comfortable with an invasion of their privacy would have a better way of looking at things. You would think. But whenever a journalist is written about, whenever a journalist is sought comment for something that they're doing, they always react very poorly, and usually it's because they are very defensive. And this, of course, was the case when it came to CNN. So here we go. This is the story that makes it the story the day after the story. It's by Andrew Kaczynski, a.k.a. K-File, on CNN. We'll read the lead, but then we'll get into the real problematic portion. The Reddit user who initially claimed credit for Donald Trump's tweet that showed Trump tackling CNN issued an apology Tuesday for the video and other offensive content that he posted, one day after CNN identified the man behind the account and attempted to make contact with him. Reddit user Han Asshole Solo first shared the GIF last Wednesday of Trump pummeling a wrestler with CNN's logo imposed on his face. CNN could find no earlier instance of the GIF. The GIF was later edited into a video with sound and tweeted by the president on Sunday. On Reddit, Han Asshole Solo took credit for inspiring the tweet. Soon after, Han Asshole Solo's further posts on Reddit, some of which include racist and anti-Semitic imagery, quickly circulated on the social media. Now the user is apologizing, writing in a lengthy post on Reddit that he does not advocate violence against the press and is expressing remorse there and in an interview with CNN for other posts that he made. So this kid apologized. Yada, yada, yada. We're gonna skip through his apology, which is its own mini tempest in a teapot because he posted it on _Donald, where CNN is ISIS. That was locked and deleted from _Donald, which shows no mercy for the CNN. But here's where the problem comes in. This little paragraph. CNN is not publishing Han Asshole Solo's name because he is a private citizen who has issued an extensive statement of apology, showed his remorse by saying that he has taken down all of his offending posts, and because he is not going to repeat this ugly behavior on social media again. In addition, he said his statement could serve as an example to others not to do the same. CNN reserves the right to publish, period. This is a very kind of hectoring paragraph. If I were Kaczynski's editor at CNN, I would say you might want to reconsider some of the wording here because it very much sounds as if he wrote this apology because he was coerced into writing the apology because he was afraid he was going to get doxxed. But here's the real issue. This one little sentence. CNN reserves the right to publish his identity should any of that change. What we are to take from this is that Mr. Kaczynski, he's saying that he or CNN will reveal this person's identity if, let's say, he posts another anti-Semitic shit post or says, it says anything they don't like. Now, TT Steve says they did it by reading his post and searching Facebook. It's not truly doxing. Listen, dude, how do you think all journalism gets done these days? If you're going to investigate who somebody is, you look at their digital footprint. Back in the day, it used to be, in a pre-Facebook era. I wonder if this site is even up. Superpages.com. Superpages.com used to be the way that you would get in touch with anybody you wanted. You would find their numbers via these listings, and then you would call the numbers. You would figure, you try to put together 1 and 2. It's a lot easier these days because you've got a lot of social media footprint. But in my mind, and I'm not saying that this is for everybody, I'm just saying it's in my mind, what is doxing and what isn't doxing? Well, doxing is when you are intentionally revealing somebody who is designed to be anonymous. It becomes even more malicious when you begin to do it from a position of power. Now, this is where I very often think that the media writ large can give themselves a bad rap. Because the media's got a bit of a self-pity complex, and this comes from somebody that got my degree in it. I attempted to work in it, I fairly quickly stopped attempting to work in it, but I feel comfortable enough to say that it was something that I noticed then and I continually see happen now, which is we are reporters. We spend a lot of time and effort trying to uncover things that people don't want covered for the benefit of society. Please like us. The people that have found a rallying cry to Donald Trump believe that the media is, I had somebody email me, a good friend of mine email me today. Journalism is dead, they wrote. It is nothing but naked advocacy now. So, I don't quite believe that K-File on CNN is necessarily the straw that broke the camel's back of all journalism. You guys have heard me talk about how sloppy and lazy I think CNN is. But it's a bad look, without a doubt. And what Kaczynski is asking for now, because he's gone out on Twitter and says that, oh, this line was misinterpreted. It's being willfully misinterpreted. You mean people are seizing on one sentence and making a gigantic deal about it? Oh, wait a minute. And then your response is not to say, oh, I'm sorry. If a lot of people don't understand what I'm saying, maybe it is on me to change the wording on the story. No. You're digging in your heels and you're doubling down. Oh. I mean, because I could swear that this is literally what CNN has done with Donald Trump from the moment that he started. And some of it is fair and some of it is not. But this act is just the exact same thing. You've got one stupid sentence that is being seized upon and digested by the opposition, which further draws a line in the sand to say, no. If you agree with CNN, you have one political motivation. If you don't agree with CNN, you have another. This is the exact kind of rallying cry that Donald Trump used on the campaign. Successfully, might I add, since he, in case you haven't noticed, is currently the president. We're not so different, you and I, Mr. Bond. This is a horrifyingly poopy look for CNN. It's really bad. And by the way, you are looking bad by picking on what I'm going to assume is a young man between the ages of 15 and 25 who posts anti-Semitic shit posts on _Donald. That's who you look worse than. Not exactly a sympathetic figure. Not exactly a bastion of creativity. Old Han asshole Solo. With all the creativity of somebody who says, I like Han Solo, but I also want to be known as an asshole. Zomzom9137. What exactly are they achieving by exposing his identity? The power to do so, which of course is at the root of a lot of the problems that people on the right have with the left, is that they are using their platform to advocate for causes as opposed to covering a situation. TT Steve in the Twitch chat says, if you expose them, you show people who think that their actions have no consequences that there are, in fact, real consequences. Yeah, you can do that. And now you're the moral authority. You know, in my opinion, this is not something that CNN necessarily should spend a lot of time on. It was a dumb meme. And by the way, there's plenty of other stuff that's going on. It's not like we are in a moment bereft of news. Do you want to know why this is a story? because CNN is making it a story, because it's salacious and it involves them. Because remember, a week ago, we weren't talking about CNN. No. We were talking about MSNBC. We were talking about Morning Joe. They were forced, in their 24/7 nonstop coverage of Donald Trump's Twitter feed, coverage that, by the way, they're always going to be second to the story on. They were talking about how Donald Trump was unhinged for going after Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. And now they get to talk about their favorite subject, themselves. And boy, have they. I can't say enough. I cannot say enough that this is just not a story for them to cover. That's it. I mean, I can't say this enough. There's no way that they win this argument. And by the way, the only logical conclusion that you can take from something like this is that, yes, Donald Trump, if you're going to bring it to its most extreme, Donald Trump is raising an army of people to attack journalists. Number one, I don't know exactly how much people witness, a CNN journalist in their life. Number two, I don't know a lot of journalists. Inside journalism, CNN's a joke. So thanks for taking on the vanguard of defending journalism, CNN. But there's other stuff to cover. Aside from Fat Man on the Beach, we've got this story. Donald Trump, this is a thing from Politico that I think is pretty good. This is a Politico story that I actually thought was good. It's from their magazine. What Trump gets right about the Middle East. I would highly recommend it. We're going to put it in the show notes. Everybody should read it. But this, in my opinion, is an example of journalism that gives us more context as opposed to less. In it, it talks about, A, the futility of American foreign policy in the Middle East over the last 12 years, both with Bush and with Obama, and how Donald Trump, for all of his ample foibles and unforced errors, seems to have struck a chord with these nations. Specifically, he has pointed out that there's stuff that they can change and they want to deal with, but more importantly, there's things that he does not want to touch. And that, in this case, means democracy. What we've spent a lot of time doing, both under Bush and Obama, is talking about how we can bring more democracy to the Middle East. It has had fair to middling results. In fact, if you look at the birth of ISIS, it's had some possibly disastrous consequences. What Donald Trump is attempting to do is say, let's work together on the things that we can indeed change, and I will not lecture you on the things that we cannot. It's controversial. It's interesting. It is putting pragmatism above principles, which is something that should be debated. Should be understood, because, like all of life, there are a complex trade-off. Even with Donald Trump pushing an America first nationalist kind of doctrine, both in foreign policy and in domestic policy, America will and still be the 800-pound gorilla when it comes to all foreign policy discussions. This, to me, is good writing. This is good reporting. You can agree with it, you can disagree with it, but it is something that needs to be focused on. And it is something that, in the end, has more world consequences than, let's say, an asshole shitposting on Twitter. Sorry, I misread it. Han asshole Solo shitposting on Twitter. So no, I don't think that journalism is dead. I do think that CNN is and has been a joke forever. And now let's move on to more silly stuff, because I really I can't handle it, guys. I really can't. I mean, I just don't want to take CNN that seriously. I can't spend calories, willful calories, on saying, is CNN good or bad for journalism? Whatever, man. They're CNN. That tiger went tiger. They're self-obsessed. They're vain. They're ratings driven. They don't care about anything other than what is the next car crash that we can make people tune into. I can understand where Donald Trump is frustrated with them, although I also wish that he would show a little bit more discretion. All right, let's move on. Here's some more actual news. Donald Trump's going to be at the G20. And it's looking like Trump against the world, according to the Washington Post. Let's go ahead and read this story as written by Damian Paletta and Anna Swanson. President Trump and the key global leaders are on a collision course ahead of the president's Group of 20 summit in Germany this week, with Trump's unapologetic America First mantra on trade and climate change running into emboldened and increasingly united opposition overseas. Trump reiterated his threats on Wednesday to pull the United States back from existing trade deals, arguing that they were against the national interest. As Trump threatens to retreat from global trade, other world powers are exploring new economic ties. The European Union and Japan are expected on Thursday to announce plans of a new major free trade agreement. The EU-Japanese deal, which has been negotiated in broad terms thus far, would lower barriers to export of cars flowing in both directions, as well as reduce Japanese barriers to imports of trains and agricultural products, including cheese and chocolate. This would create a free trade area similar to the size of North America, which is, of course, linked up by 1994's NAFTA agreement, one of the worst deals in history. So now we are seeing people, the rest of the world beginning to examine ties that do not involve the United States. This is after, of course, the Trans-Pacific Partnership kind of died on the trail, and then certainly died when Donald Trump, who was viewed as somebody who was almost definitely going to take out the TPP, certainly happened. I mean, I guess Hillary Clinton said that she wasn't for the TPP, but as kind of emblematic on her larger trust issues, you never know. So here is ultimately the stakes for Donald Trump. Not Trump stakes. Here are the stakes. Donald Trump's entire point is, why don't we negotiate trade deals like we negotiate business deals? Which is to say that you bluster, you threaten to walk away, you hope that by the end of the deal, you get to put your name on something that is as most advantageous to your cause as possible. If you are only pressured with something that is not advantageous to your cause, you walk away, knowing that it's better that you can make a deal later than one that would hurt you now. So, with the Paris Climate Accords, you kind of saw the culture clash. Because what Donald Trump really wants is to renegotiate everything. He wants to renegotiate NAFTA. He wants to renegotiate whatever deal we make with the Asian continent. He wants to renegotiate what we do for the Paris Climate Accords. He wants to renegotiate everything because he thinks that we put our name on garbage. And what the rest of the world needs to decide is, do we let him? Because right now, for Europe, they are certainly at a very, very, very interesting tipping point. One of the biggest members of the European Union, I don't know if you all realize this, have left. They Brexited. They are now in negotiations with England to see what their relationship will be. The relationship between EU and the UK. There is a school of thought that the EU should punish the UK so as to make an example out of them, discouraging, therefore, other folks from seeking to do the same thing. And now there is possibly a more vexing problem for them. Because if anybody should be able to swing their ding-a-ling hard enough to renegotiate some of these international deals, it's the United States. You know, the bastion of Western democracy. The economic superpower. But if you give a mouse a cookie, we all know what happens next. Now, the bet that Trump is making historically is that there's a reason the United States is the 800-pound gorilla in a lot of this. Because the history of us trying to turn over leadership to these countries in Europe has been often met with nothing but dick stepping and ass grabbery. When the United States steps back, it's very rare that there is another country with the kind of gravitas that we have that steps up into the void. In fact, we've tried to do this before. Remember that militarily, Bill Clinton tried to step back, tried to say we will no longer be the world's police. And then kind of 1-2 punch, we had Rwanda and Kosovo. And next thing you know, it's like when the headlines are, why is the United States allowing all these people in these foreign countries to die? We got to go do something. Because it becomes bad press. And nobody else is really looking to step up. So what does an under siege European Union or these G20 countries, including Japan and Germany, strong economies in and of themselves, how do they handle the United States? As the United States continually looks across the table and says, when does Big Dog get to eat? Meanwhile, how also do you make international deals with China and India? How does that happen? Emerging economic superpowers. Now, on one hand, you can look at this and say, this isn't a bad time to be looking at this. This isn't a bad time to flex your muscle if you're the United States. Because the world is kind of in chaos. The European Union has their own problems to deal with. And ultimately, a better relationship with the United States will always be better for them than a worse relationship with them between the United States. Same with Asia. China and Japan specifically. Where you are worried if you are the United States is that you're not exactly sure that Donald Trump is quite the deal maker that he professes to be. In fact, if you look at some of the biggest possible deals that he has been a part of, very often the end result is ego getting in the way and the deals being scuttled. Remember that Donald Trump had the inside track to build what would have been his version of 30 Rockefeller Plaza. He could have been in the center of New York City's media empire He could have been the landlord. But because of a ego-fueled dick measuring contest with then Mayor Ed Koch, the deal got scuttled. So, between his history as a deal maker and the fact that the stakes are so high, it's not a weird thing to look at it and say, well, everybody should be a little queasy about this. But at the same time, it's not a bad time to flex nuts on this. But ultimately, nobody cares about whether or not we are going to have a better or worse relationship trade-wise. We don't care about trade wars. We don't care about price protection. We don't care about steel imports. No. Here is what we care about. This article, again from the New York Times, Julia Hirschfield Davis and Glenn Thrush. Aide's biggest worry on Trump's Europe trip, a meeting with Putin. Let's read from this article. President Trump has been briefed repeatedly as advisors have alerted him to the web of potential risks, complex issues, and diplomatic snags. But even his top aides do not know precisely what Donald Trump will decide to say or do when he meets with President Vladimir V. Putin face-to-face this week on the sidelines of the Group of 20 meeting economic summit in Germany. And this is what most worries his advisors and officials across his administration as he embarks Wednesday on his second foreign trip, first to Warsaw and then to Hamburg. The highly anticipated conversation with Mr. Putin on Friday is in many ways a necessity, given the critical dispute separating the United States and Russia. But it's also a diplomatic and political risk for Mr. Trump, who faces a web of investigations into his campaign's possible leaks to Russia, as well as questions about his willingness to take on Moscow for its military misdeeds and election meddling on his behalf. The air of uncertainty about the meeting is only heightened by the president's tendency for unpredictable utterances and awkward optics. This is going to be a poop show. Get ready for it to be a poop show. Please. We are all in the front two rows of this Gallagher concert. So get your plastic ready, because there will indeed be fecal matter sprayed all over the place, because this one is going to get messy. There is almost zero chance that President of Russia, Vladimir V. Putin, will not look at this as a way to score points for himself. There is zero chance that Donald Trump will look at this in a way where he cannot flex on the media and his opponents who believe that he is in collusion with Russia. He enjoys needling these people, and boy, howdy, does he have a comically large needle on this particular front. My mind is spinning at the possibilities of what we could see with this. What would be the most ridiculous? Probably him going live on Periscope. I feel like Donald Trump going live on Periscope and just selfie talking with Putin would be probably the silliest thing that could happen, right? Or some kind of direct communication. I have long been kind of puzzled by the optics between Putin and Trump. But he seems to, and apologize for me jacking another president's swag here, but he seems to be into giving a Russian reset. He seems to feel that wouldn't it be nice if we had a better relationship with Russia? By the way, the exact same thing that Obama said about Russia. We all see how well that went. Now, Donald Trump and his supporters would argue, but yeah, that's because Obama's stupid and he decided to give everything that Russia would want up front and ask nothing in return. That Donald Trump is somebody that can negotiate with Putin. Game, recognized game. Strong man on strong man action. That if anybody is going to be able to negotiate a more fair deal, including a better deal with Russia on their handling of Syria and ISIS, it is going to be Donald Trump. So I have no idea where this goes. I personally do not trust Vladimir Putin as far as I can throw him. I feel that the laughed at rhetoric at the time from John McCain and from Mitt Romney is now totally vindicated. I do believe that it is a very, very serious. It is serious that Russia attempted to sway our election. However, I don't think that it is. It is far more spilt milk than it is an active attack on our democracy. If they were making things up, it would be a different story. So, the big issue here is exactly where the optics go. And I can give you the spoiler alert. And we can check on the headline show whether or not I'm right. It's going to be Russia and the United States versus the world. Those will be the stories. Those will be the pictures. A smiling Putin and a smiling Trump shaking hands, whilst we juxtapose them with frowny faces from the rest of the planet. And that's that, right? What else can you say? Or at least what else can you predict? Now, the other thing that is interesting about this is that Donald Trump has also recently become disillusioned with China's handling of North Korea. He initially felt that China, maybe with North Korea's more erratic behavior, that China was coming to a breaking point and that the United States could deal with North Korea in concert with China. He tweeted today, or yesterday rather, that China has continued to work with North Korea. We had to give it a shot, but it looks like we can't count on them. Do we face a similar reckoning when it comes to the Putin bromance? Does Donald Trump say, hey, look, we will give you a different kind of relationship, one that is more beneficial and is to your liking, but you got to help us out with ISIS. You can't be on the other side of this with Syria. And if Vladimir Putin agrees or doesn't agree, do we see Donald Trump cross the Rubicon and give, Putin one of those famous adjective nicknames? And what would it be? What adjective would aggravate Vladimir Putin the most? Crooked Hillary, Lying Ted, Crazy Bernie. What would it be? What would it be? Pathetic Putin? Here we go. Learning EXP says pathetic. Pussy Putin? Could we see a world leader call another world leader a pussy? Puny Putin? That's another one. That's another really good one. Pretty Putin. I mean, you got to figure that happens at some point, right? At some point we get that. Puss in Boots Putin. That would be the interesting way to go about it. And now we are going to give as much time as the president and the Republican Party have given their signature piece of legislation, healthcare. It's in trouble, and now they have to rely on making deals because they were not able to ram through a bill that was all repeal and literally no replace. And so now, according to an analysis by Nathaniel Wixel of thehill.com, their only moves are to effectively keep the tax on the rich from Obamacare, to keep more of the Obamacare subsidies, to have some cut the baby in half solution from Ted Cruz. They've already decided to give more money to opioid addiction, or to not do what the House was super excited to do, which is slash Medicaid. So their 5 options are, in one way or another, to keep Obamacare. This is in large part because in traditional feckless politician history, they have no replacement. You know, they are like, all right, well, let's repeal it, but let's not come up with any kind of conservative, market-based way to get people more and better health care. Like, that's the point, right? We're not just here to deal with the rest of it. You gotta do something. It's not enough. All right, whatever. And that's if the president is going to find shit posting on Reddit more important than the healthcare bill, then you want to know what? God damn it, so am I. Yeah. Tell you what, I'm so frustrated. I don't even know whether or not I'm coming or going, man. Here's what I do know is it's time. I know we just had a 5-day weekend, but I'm ready to just relax. Like, you know, I'm just ready. Let's go ahead and just take this one out to the club. No, not the one with the dancing. I mean the gentleman's club. Yeah, all are welcome. We're gonna get a party bus, everybody. Spray on that Dracarnor. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is a direction of the country.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Oh, dance, 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 dance.
That booty.
This is a Rasmussen Reports Direction of the Country Bowl from June 25th to June 26th, 2,500 likely voters. Coming up first to the stage, it is Right Direction with 36%. That is 36% for the Right Direction. But your headliner with 57%, it is our country, the United States of America, on its birthday, being on the wrong
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
track. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a spread of negative 21%. And by the way, that's the favorable poll for the president. Rasmussen Reports has been the one that has always consistently been more favorable to Donald Trump, and as it turned out, more accurate on Election Day. Let's go ahead and break on in to our emails. Not a lot of them today, but you guys can always email in theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Matt writes in, Iron Stash. This guy seems like he will be fun to watch. Iron Stash is somebody that is running against Paul Ryan in Wisconsin, where I was. He is an activist and iron worker, a lifelong resident of Wisconsin, and he's running for Congress against Paul Ryan. Let's go ahead and take a real quick look here. At Randy Bryce, a.k.a. Iron Stash.
It's like hot knives going through, and you can't talk, you can't swallow. It's terrible. I'm gonna cry.
Mom is.
You have to give me a bear hug.
My mom is.
He wound up getting a ton of press because he had a really, really, really well-made campaign ad where he talked about, he hit all the buttons about how he is a real American, fight for the rights of every man, and Paul Ryan is an elite who is out of touch not only with America, but also with the hometown of Wisconsin. I don't really know if he is much more than a viral video, but who knows? Who knows? Who knows whether or not he'll really be a guy? We will keep an eye on him because he definitely looks like Ron Swanson. DZ Bateman says, "Hey, Jerry, I've heard you reference the Gold Club in Atlanta a few times while setting up your pole dance bit. You may not remember, but the Gold Club was shut down by the feds more than a decade ago after a famous and bizarre trial. It's a fascinating and salacious story involving sex, drugs, the mob, professional athletes, and celebrities, the lamest of whom that received sex from the Gold Club was Stephen Baldwin. You know what sucks about being a Baldwin? Nothing! Donald Trump was even mentioned at the opening of the trial. The place was shuttered, and the building is now a church. Amen." Yeah, you know, I don't really know what to say. I did know that the Gold Club was shut down. It's just, synonymous with Atlanta strip clubs, right? There's not many famous strip clubs, specifically those that are tied to certain cities. But the Gold Club in Atlanta, it just like rolls off the tongue. Adam writes, "I don't know if you saw this, but there's a dude in Argentina claiming to be Hitler because, you know, Hitler loved to tango. Spoiler alert, he's probably not. But what do you think would happen if we found out Hitler was still alive and not reincarnated into Trump, as many would have us believe? I like to think Hitler was reincarnated as McDonald's straw somebody drops on the ground, never uses, and then throws away, thus ending a life that never began in the first place. But hey, I'm a dreamer." I don't know, man. I think if Hitler was reincarnated, it would prove reincarnation was real. I mean, I think that there is, of course, obviously by famous conspiracy, maybe an enclave of Nazis hanging out around South America. But I don't know. It'd be very interesting. I would find it to be a very, very interesting turn of events. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Of course, you can email me, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. That is theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Big, big, big reminder, folks. We are rocking and rolling here on our Action News Kickstarter. Go to actionnewsgame.com. The link is right there. You can get on our mailing list. We have had an amazing response so far. We were the #1 funded tabletop game last week, and we only started on Friday. We really, really, really want to keep this train going. If you are not aware of the game, effectively, it is the game our lawyers tell us we legally can't call Anchorman the game. But you use real news stories, create scripts based on a bunch of sentence fragments. Think of it as timed refrigerator magnet poetry. We had a great time playing it at Nerdtacular, and we hope you guys can continue to make this a reality because, by the way, there are a ton of really awesome things that we want to continue doing with this. Well, we are almost at 600 backers. We've got a whole new fleet of cards unlocking at 1,000. So go ahead and check it out. If you already pledged but did not have a chance to see that we now have the adult-only cards, the curse word cards, then we encourage you to check that out and update your pledge if you want those. All right. Other than that, you can go ahead and follow us. Follow us at, email us at theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Music has been provided by Valesco and Dropkillers. Follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. And download archived episodes of the show at bonerwars.com. Ladies and gentlemen, some shows talk about politics. Others talk about politics. Still more. Well, they talk about politics, but this is the only show that talks about all three. We will see you guys down the road. Peace out.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.